Sponsorship can be an amazing marketing tool for your business. But what if it could also seriously lower your tax bill? Well, that's exactly what we're digging into today. And thanks to the experts at My Tax Accountant, we've put together a really straightforward guide to help you get your head around the rules and, most importantly, maximize your savings.
So let's just picture it for a second. You run a business and you're thinking about sponsoring the local kids' football team. Your logo on their shirts, a big banner up at the pitch. It feels good and it's great marketing. But here's the real question, right? Can doing that actually save you money on your tax bill? It's a question thousands of business owners just like you are asking.
And the answer is yes, but, and this is a huge but, HMRC will only let you deduct those sponsorship costs if the expense is, and this is the key phrase, wholly and exclusively for the purpose of your business. This is the absolute heart of the matter, and honestly, it's where a lot of people get tripped up. So to get that tax break, your sponsorship has to pass this one crucial test from HMRC. Let's call it the golden rule, because you absolutely, positively have to know it. Okay, so what does wholly and exclusively actually mean? It's pretty straightforward, really. The money you spend has to be purely for business reasons. If there's any other motive, what HMRC calls a duality of purpose, like, say, sponsoring a team just because your nephew plays for them, with no real business benefit, well, then your whole claim could get thrown out. And here's a perfect real-world example of what can go wrong. We heard about this one guy, a graphic designer, who sponsored his nephew's cricket club. He thought it was a complete no-brainer, a clear business expense, but HMRC saw that family connection, flagged it for duality of purpose, and rejected the claim. It just goes to show how serious they are about this rule. All right, so let's say your sponsorship passes the test. Now for the fun part. How much cash can you actually save? Well, it all depends on how much you earn, and this is key, where you live in the UK. Let's crunch the numbers for the 2025/2026 tax year. For most of the UK, that's England, Wales, and Northern Ireland, it's pretty clear-cut. That $5,000 you spend on sponsorship, it comes right off your taxable profit. So if you're a basic rate taxpayer, boom, that's £1,000 back in your pocket. And if you're in the higher rate bracket, that saving doubles to $2,000. Not bad, right? But hold on, if you're up in Scotland, the numbers change. See, Scotland's got its own tax bands, and they're a bit different. For that same £5,000 sponsorship, a higher rate taxpayer saves £2,100. And if you're in that top bracket, you're looking at a saving of £2,400. This regional difference is a really big deal. When you see it laid out like this, it really hits home, doesn't it? The exact same sponsorship deal has a different cash value depending on your tax situation. That £100 difference between England and Scotland might not seem like a lot, but it proves the point. You cannot just guess. You've got to run the numbers for your specific case. Okay, so you're confident your sponsorship qualifies and you've figured out what you could save. What do you actually do now? Let's walk through the exact steps to claim this thing correctly and avoid any headaches. There are basically 5 key things you need to nail. Number 1, document everything, especially the business purpose. This is your defense against that duality of purpose trap. 2, get a proper written agreement. 3, if you're VAT registered, don't forget to reclaim it. 4, log it as an expense on your tax return. And finally, number 5, don't miss the deadline. Right, following those steps is half the battle, but knowing what not to do is just as important. There are a few common mistakes that can sink your claim, so let's cover those right now. Okay, let's do a quick fire round of what to avoid. First, mixing personal and business reasons. We've talked about that. It's a definite no-go. Forgetting to reclaim VAT, that's just leaving free money on the table. Here's a big one, client hospitality. If your sponsorship package includes, say, tickets to a match for your clients, that part of the cost can't be deducted. And if you've got a couple of businesses, you have to be really careful about how you split the cost. This is where things get tricky. So, when you boil it all down, what's the bottom line? Look, sponsorship is a brilliant way to market your business, and yes, it can absolutely save you thousands on your tax bill. But as we've seen, the rules are really specific. You've just got to be careful. When you get this right, it stops being just another expense and becomes a really smart financial move. So next time you're thinking about sponsoring someone, don't just ask, what's my marketing return? Ask, what's my tax return? For total peace of mind and to make sure you're getting it 100% right for your business, it's always a good idea to talk to a professional. The team at My Tax Accountant are the experts here, and they can give you that specific advice. Thanks so much for joining us.